Hey there. If there's one thing to know about me, it's that I am a mood reader. That's the way I choose my books every time. It's just something that is calling to me. I have to be in the mood for it. I can't plan them. It has to be spur of the moment. It has to be something that is just calling. So that's what I talk about today. I want to discuss books on my TBR. That's my to be read for those not in the know. This is going to be a mix of non-fiction and fiction because that's the way I prefer to read. I like to bounce in between, whatever takes my fancy. Let's talk about them. First up, I have Emily Henry, Great Big Beautiful Life. Emily Henry is that author for me that was a gateway into the romance genre. I think I've said that before. I adore this genre just because it's fun. You don't have to think so much. It's purely just all the feelings. You just feel a lot and then you're finished. It's cathartic, it's fun, it's comforting, and I can't wait to get stuck into this one. This book is about Alice, who gets invited to the island owned by a reclusive heiress, Margaret Ives. She is willing to let a journalist, Alice in this case, pen her stories. She's gonna, for the first time, come out and talk about her history. The catch is there's also another writer, Hayden, who is Alice's nemesis. I'm gonna put it out there, probably described as a Pulitzer Prize winning thundercloud. The catch is Margaret is going to tell each person tidbits of information about her life, and neither of them will have the full story, so they have to work together to get the full story of her life. And I'd wager they'll find love along the way. I really like Emily Henry's books because there's enough in it to get your teeth into. You might know what's going to happen in the end, but it's about the journey, you know? And she always has enough in her characters that it's heartfelt and you really feel for them. So by the time the crescendo happens in the end, that everything comes to a head or there's the dramatic third act, you really feel it. And that is sweet emotional catharsis in ink on a mushed up tree. And I love it. I can't wait to read this one. The next book is Stillborn by Guadalupe Natal. This book follows two main characters who are two women in their 30s. They're both professional women, career women. It's exploring one of life's most consequential decisions, whether or not to have children, and how those decisions affect their life, and if they do change their minds, how they feel about them. What I'm really excited about this book to go into is the nuance of that question. I think it's really rare that you get a book that deals with a woman who doesn't want to have kids, firstly, who's not like a villain in a story, or who's not closed off and crotchety and just an absolute caricature. So I'm really hoping that she delves into the nuance of those decisions and all the complexities of it without having a very binary focus on if you should or shouldn't. I think that is an incredible topic to delve into. The characters are Alina and Laura. Laura has taken the decision to be sterilized and Alina is deciding to have children. But one thing that really caught my eye is one part on the back. She says, when complications arise in Alina's pregnancy and Laura becomes attached to her neighbour's son, both women are forced to reckon with the complexities of their emotions. And I'm really excited to see where this goes. Next up is one that I have read before, but I think I was too young to read it, and that is Lolita. I really want to give this another go. I feel like it'll be an interesting perspective, it'll be an interesting process to read this now as an adult with a fully developed frontal lobe and see what the experience of reading it is like and the takeaways that I have now. When you're younger and you read it, the complexities of having an unreliable narrator, as I think when you're younger, reading something from the perspective of an unreliable narrator and one who has seriously immoral leanings, it kind of goes over your head a little bit. So I really want to delve into books that are uncomfortable, books that are controversial, and books from a perspective that I cannot quite comprehend. I think it'll be a really interesting experience to go back and do a reread. Last year I kind of got into doing rereads of favorite books, and I think I really want to go into books that I read that I think went over my head when I was younger. So this is going to be the start of that journey. Next I have Bonjour Tristesse. I did my best there. This is by Françoise Sagan, who was only 18 when she wrote this. This book was published in the 50s. It's 2 stories in one, but it's still classified as one novel. It tells the story of Cecile, who leads a carefree life with her widowed father and his young mistress until one hot summer on the Riviera he decides to remarry with devastating consequences. The second story follows Dominique, a young woman bored with her lover, begins an encounter with an older man that unfolds in unexpected and troubling ways. This was recommended as a real summer read. It literally says on the front, it is funny, immoral, and thoroughly French. It's also interesting that she was so young when she wrote it, and when it first came out, there were scenes that were taken out because they were a bit too raunchy, a bit too explicit, but now they've reissued it with the full version still in. I think this is the perfect time of year to read this, so that is definitely on the list. The next book is Self-Defense by Elsa Doran. This is a non-fiction book. It is about the ethics of self-defense. I find this topic fascinating. Doran is a professor of philosophy, and it was one of her only books to be translated into English. I find it fascinating to think of what radicalizes a person, what makes them go to extremes to defend their morals. What issues would they go to such lengths for? And this book poses the question of, is self-defense ethical? She comes at it from a historical perspective, so she looks at the global history of the politics, philosophy, and ethics of self-defense. So she goes back and looks at groups that have employed it, the outcomes of that, and just poses the question of, was it the correct thing to do? Is it ethical? And at what point does it not become ethical? And is it just extreme? And how it's perceived by others as well. How for some people it is perceived as something that is okay to do, and for others it's condemned. It's been on my shelf for so long. I feel like the call is happening. It's going to be soon. Also, great cover. What a great freaking cover. The next book is, oh my god, my leg. Oh. The one and only Joan Didion. I've read Play It As It Lays, and I really enjoyed her writing style. I think she made some really sharp observations. She's really witty, and she's a really unique voice. She's obviously an incredibly prolific writer, and her non-fiction is probably most well known, so I really want to read some of her most prolific works, and especially her non-fiction. Next up, we have The Trees by Percival Everett. The Trees is set in Mississippi, where a series of murders keep happening, and at each murder, when they go to investigate, there is the body of a black man with a familiar face at each crime scene. It is listed as provocative, satirical, fast-paced, and has won so many awards. I haven't read Everett yet, and I really want to, so I feel like The Trees is the perfect place to start. Also, The Trees was published with a small publishers in Minneapolis called Grey Wolf Press, and over here and in the UK it was published in Influx Press. They're both 2 small independent publishers, and they came out with these covers, which are so good. I love those covers. And then I think a year ago a different publisher got the rights to the books. There's a different cover. So when I heard it was changing publishers and then they were going to be finished with these covers, I picked up the book then, because how nice is this? Very interested in this. Can't wait. The next book is Ladies of Rachmaninoff Eyes by Henry van Dyke. This was recommended to me by a friend who has fantastic taste in books. It's supposed to be funny. They really enjoyed it. They said the writing was great. It is about Etta Klein, a wealthy and Jewish woman who for 30 years has relied for aid, comfort and companionship of her black housekeeper Harriet Gibbs. The pair are inseparable. It's about those 2 ladies and the cook that's also in the house, and they basically convince someone that they can reach a loved one in the afterlife. I've read nothing but great things about this. Feels like it's a great time of year also to read something like that, and it's quite nice to read something that is a bit witty, a bit lighter, because it's not often that you get literary fiction that's quite light or it's just funny. A lot of the time it's either paired with like dark humor or it's just a bit heavy. So I'm definitely going to read this. It's always great, especially when you can get a recommendation from someone that you know it's going to be good. So I can't wait to read this. And finally, drumroll please, Trust by Hernan Diaz. I've heard so much about this one. It is supposed to be fantastic. It follows one story but 4 different perspectives of it. So the book is split up into 4 parts. It follows a Wall Street tycoon and his young wife rise to the top of New York City society in an age of excess and speculation. But now a novelist is threatening to reveal the secrets behind their marriage, and this wealthy man's story of greed, love, betrayal is about to slip from his grasp. It's listed as a page turner, surprising, engrossing, time to set in, the glitz, the glam. I've actually started this one already. I'm only a couple chapters in, but already really liking it. I am excited. Okay, those are my top 10. Those are 10 that I have on my TBR that are calling to me at the minute. Disclaimer, I'm not going to read them in that order that I presented them, but those are ones that are definitely on my radar, and I cannot wait to get stuck in. So many good things to read. That is all. Till next time.